Once upon a time, all ideas were in the public domain. Every invention and every piece of art could be built upon by the generation that followed. And one inventor built on the public domain to create the printing press, the machine that created the modern world, and with it, a beautiful dilemma. Now ideas could be spread around the globe. But how could an individual now profit from his or her creative efforts? The solution was the first copyright law. The Statute of Anne gave authors exclusive rights to their work, but the law was meant to be a balance between the rights of authors and those of the public. So after 14 years, the work fell into the public domain and anyone could copy it. But over the years, people kept inventing newer and better copying machines, each disrupting the business model that had come before. From the player piano to the radio to the VCR, each technology originally copied ideas without paying the copyright holder. The solution was always a balance. Lawmakers ensured the right of the new technology to innovate while maintaining the right of authors to still get paid. By 1998, the music industry was raking in over $13 billion a year. And that's when an 18-year-old college dropout invented Napster, a program that transformed the world's computers into a peer-to-peer music sharing network.
Before the arrival of the printing press in Europe in the 1500s, information was highly scarce and relatively easy to control.
For thousands of years, the scribal culture really handpicked the people who were given this code to transmit knowledge across time and space.
It's an economy of scarcity that you're dealing with. People are starved, in a sense, for more books.
There are images from the 16th century of books that were chained and had to be guarded by armed guards outside a heavy, heavy door, because it is very, very dangerous for people to have access to that.
Print brought with it a new abundance of information, threatening the control over ideas that had come with scarcity. Daniel Defoe tells of Gutenberg's partner Johann Fust arriving in 15th century Paris with a wagon load of printed Bibles. When the Bibles were examined and the exact similarity of each book was discovered, the Parisians set upon Fust, accusing him of black magic. About to change everything, this new communications technology was seen as the unholy work of the devil. As print technology developed in Europe and America, its pivotal social role became clear.
Printing becomes associated with rebellion and emancipation. There's the governor of Virginia, Governor Berkeley, who wrote to his overseers in England in the 17th century saying, "Thank God we have no printing in Virginia, and we shall never have it as long as I'm governor." This was a reaction to the English Civil War and the pamphlet wars, and they were called paper bullets in that period.
Why should improvements in our capacity to copy be linked to social change? Because communicating, so fundamental to what we do in the world, is itself an act of copying.
The one technique that brought us to where we are is copying.
Sharing is at the heart of, in some senses, existence. Communication, the need to talk to someone, is an act of sharing. The need to listen to someone is an act of sharing.
Why do we share culture? Why do we share language? Because we imitate each other. This is how we learn to speak. This is how a baby learns. This is how new things come into society and spread through society. Basically, what keeps us together is that we copy from each other.
When the spoken word was our only means of communication, we traveled far and wide to deliver it to others. Later, as we began to communicate in written form, armies of scribes multiplied our ideas. Our urge to communicate is so strong that we have always pushed the tools available to us to the limit, then gone beyond them, creating new technologies that reproduce our ideas on previously unimaginable scales. The ARPANET was designed to allow scientists to share computer resources in order to improve innovation. To make this vision work, ARPANET had to allow each machine on the network to to reproduce and relay the information sent by any other. A network in which peers shared resources equally was part of a massive shift from the corporate and commercial communication systems of the past, in which messages radiated from a central point or down through a hierarchy. There was no center, and no machine was more important than another. Anyone could join the network, provided they agreed to abide by the rules or protocols on which it operated.
One of the really important characteristics of the internet is that it's extremely decentralized, and that the services on the internet are invented and operated by other network users.
You know, the network is built so that there's nobody in charge, that everybody has control over their own communications.
In relying on the internet, society was bringing into its very center a machine whose primary function was the reproduction and distribution of information.
Whether you're using a sort of long-lost peer-to-peer system like the original Napster, or you're using Nutella, or you're using BitTorrent, the principle here is that you are actually engaging in internet communication as it was originally designed. You are able to serve content as well as consume.
Especially after the Napster lawsuit, we saw an emergence of a lot of more decentralized file sharing services. Computer programs that people could run on their own computers that would make them part of the network without having any one place where there's a master list or a master coordination.
What this means is that, in fighting file sharing, the entertainment industry is fighting the fundamental structure of the internet.
Short of redesigning and re-engineering either the internet or the devices we use to interact with the internet, there's nothing that Hollywood or Washington or Brussels or Geneva can do anything about.
It used to be if you had a radio station or television station or a printing press, you could broadcast your views to a very large number of people at quite a bit of expense, and a fairly small percentage of the population was able to do that. If you wanted to change the way the television broadcast network works, good luck. You're going to have to get the majority of the shareholders to agree with you, or you're going to have to replace some very expensive equipment.
The panic of the movie industry and the music industry is that people could actually start to produce, and that file-sharing networks, file-sharing technology enables them to produce stuff. People have lamented much the death of the author. What we're witnessing now is far beyond. It's the becoming producer of former consumers. And that suggests a new economic model for society.
The one thing that's absolutely clear is that there's no way to kill this technology. We can only criminalize its use. We can't stop people from taking culture and remaking it in a way that expresses their ideas differently. We can only drive this creativity underground. We can't make our kids passive in the way we were growing up. We can only make them, quote, pirates. And the question we've got to ask is whether this is any good.
You know, before the radio and the record came along, the only way that people made money from making music was by standing in a hall and being charismatic. The fact is, technology giveth, technology taketh away. What was a business model in 1909 may be the business model in 2009. What was a business model in 1939 may not be the business model in 2007. That's how it goes.
In 2007, the business model of music was completely rewritten. Radiohead, the biggest band in the world, left the record label EMI to release their next album on the internet. And they let their fans decide how much to pay for it. Within a matter of weeks, a San Francisco DJ named Amp Live started remixing the album.
Don't lose your head. Don't lose your head. Don't lose your head.
But the moment he put the songs on his website, Amp Live got a cease and desist letter threatening a lawsuit. Radiohead didn't send that letter. It was the company they sold their publishing rights to, Warner Chappell, the same people who own Happy Birthday. But Radiohead was now independent, and they called the shots. they told Warner to back off. And Radiohead kept going, releasing the raw studio sessions of their singles and then their videos, so fans could make their own Radiohead songs. And just like that, the wall fell down between musicians, remixers, and fans. The music industry had refused to evolve, so we evolved for them.